Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, good, good. You're not hearing me, Cassidy. I think everybody else is, so I'll assume it's okay my end. So yeah, everybody, yeah, welcome everybody. Just to let you know or remind you that there'll be two more classes after this before the break. Have about a 3-month break while I'm away in Spain for the autumn. And yeah, but there will be the recordings available, plenty of recordings on YouTube and on the blog if you want to access lead meditations or the nuggets. The nuggets are all there. So this morning, I wanted to start just by talking a little bit about strengthening the observing mind. I don't talk so much about the observing mind, but I came across a little quote from U Tejaniya. And he says we calm and stabilize the awareness by making the mind an observer of the body and mind. So we can talk of, it's another way of talking about the awareness is to talk about the observing mind, the mind that's observing or knowing other aspects of the mind. And the quality of that awareness, as many of you will know, is what's important. We're observing in a way that's calm, kindly, unreactive. The mind feels quite sort of open. And we can be observing reactivity in the mind. So I think this is what one of the features of this kind of practice is that we can have the quality of the awareness that's quite sort of calm, quite clear, but what it's observing won't necessarily have the same quality. So there isn't a demand that the mind be completely free of klesha, of afflictive emotion, at least to start with. So yeah, you might be worrying about something. There might be some irritation in the mind. Whatever it is, but at the same time, those things, you're clear they're not within the mind that's observing, the mind that's knowing. That mind or that part of the mind is free from klesha, free from disturbances and agitation. And so that's why it becomes calm and more stable. But at the same time, while the klesha doesn't need to completely disappear from the mind, and again, U Tejaniya, he says it's enough to be able to observe the storm of all the other bits of the mind. But at the same time, this kind of dynamic of a calm, aware part of the mind observing, recognizing what's happening will have an effect on the rest of the mind. It's like you're not throwing, when the aware mind is calm, you're not throwing sort of, in a way, more reactivity onto the fire of existing reactivity. There's some irritation in the mind, perhaps. And then if the aware mind is not of that calm, clear nature, but also has some reactivity in it, then there's likely to be some sort of aversion to what's happening. You don't want that to be happening. Or you buy in, the mind buys into what's happening and fuels it in some way. So the fire of klesha gets bigger. Whereas with awareness in observing what's happening, the tendency is for the rest of the mind to calm down as well. And that may not happen that quickly. It may be quite a slow process. Sometimes you can just feel the energy of them go right down. So there's a real value in strengthening this capacity of awareness to observe what's happening rather than get entangled with what's going on. But I think it's unentangled knowing is one of the American Dharma teachers, Steve Armstrong, possibly. Unentangled knowing is a helpful way of viewing our relationship between the awareness and what else is happening in the mind. So just some very simple ways that you can strengthen this capacity of the mind to observe, the awareness to observe what's happening. Firstly, just by reminding yourself that it's the mind that's knowing all these experiences. So then we can relate to the awareness in the mind. It's the awareness or the mind that's knowing all these experiences. So what is the mind knowing is a helpful question in that regard, because you're making sure that you're not sort of taking personally all these experiences. What am I seeing? What am I hearing? What is the mind? What is the awareness knowing? Remind yourself more frequently, perhaps, to be aware. So you're really registering that this process of awareness is happening in the mind, and is what's recognizing all these experiences. And from that, you can then notice the awareness. What we're looking for overall, I would say, is to have the attention less with those experiences that are being known, all the sights, the sounds, the sensations, the content of the thoughts, and more with the process of knowing, or that knowing, that observing mind. So we're always sort of pointing back to the mind, rather than, if you like, building awareness through recognizing many, many different objects. We can build awareness through recognizing the quality of the knowing, or recognizing it, that knowing and observing is happening. So again, Utejana, he says we want to strengthen awareness rather than strengthen objects, strengthen experiences in the mind. They're just happening anyway, and they're what we use. We use these experiences to strengthen the mind that's knowing or observing, strengthen that present moment awareness. So reminding more frequently to be aware, perhaps using that question, what is the mind knowing? And reminding yourself that it's the mind that is knowing all these experiences, the aware part of the mind that's able to observe what's happening. Okay, so I'll leave it there if you'd like to set up for meditation.